Greetings children. I hope and wish you safe at home. Let us make our days better with our presentation classes. The topic I have chosen for the presentation is structure of the earth. Earth. Earth is the only planet with life on it. There are three reasons which support life on earth. They are land, water and air. As we know, land is the solid part of the earth, which is the outer part of the earth where life exists. Apart from that, we have water bodies which support life on earth. Also, the most important part of the earth that makes it possible for the life is atmosphere. Atmosphere is the layer of gases around the earth which also has breathing gas which supports life throughout the earth. The places in contact with lithosphere, hydrosphere and atmosphere is the zone of life in the earth. Therefore, it is called as biosphere. This diagram denotes the realms of the earth. The atmosphere part, lithosphere or geosphere part, that is the solid part of the earth, and hydrosphere combined together for the life existence in the earth called as biosphere. Let's move on to the topic, layers of the earth. When we take the cross section of the earth is made up of three distinct layers. They are named as the crust, the mantle and the core. This diagram denotes the layers of the earth. The crust, upper mantle and lower mantle, outer core and inner core. Above the earth's crust is the atmosphere, layers of atmosphere, which is also denoted as troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere and exosphere. And this is the diagram of earth in cross section. This diagram denotes the depth, the distance of the each layer. By this diagram, the crust extends up to 0 to 70 km. It means that from the surface of the earth till 70 km is crust. The next layer up to 100 km is asthenosphere. It is nothing but the upper mantle. And then the lower mantle, that is 70 to 2885 km approximately. This depth varies from your content to content and different references. For that reason, I would like to insist that these are all the approximate values of the depth of the layers of the earth. And then the inner part is called outer core and inner core. Along with the distance, it is being specified. Now, let us discuss each layer in detail. The crust, otherwise also known as lithosphere. The outermost layer of the earth is called crust. It is the portion of the earth which is made up of rock and soil. The crust is also known as lithosphere. The word lithosphere comes from the Greek word lithos. It means rocks. The earth's crust varies in thickness from 5 to 70 km, approximately 60 km. The crust can also be divided into two types or two parts. The upper part is called as continental crust and the lower part of the crust is called as oceanic crust. When we check out the thickness of the crust is comparatively thicker under the continent than under the ocean floor. We will discuss this in detail with the diagram in the next slide. Before that, we should know that the earth's crust varies in thickness, but when you check with the other layers, it is considered to be the thinnest layer of the earth. It can be compared to an orange peel. Take an example of an orange. When you take away the peel, it is only equivalent to the peel is equivalent to the thickness of the crust. It makes up less than 1% of its volume. Here, this diagram clearly denotes the two parts of the crust, continental crust as well as oceanic crust. You can find that the upper part with continental crust and lower that is the oceanic crust. Now we can discuss something detailed about the continental crust and oceanic crust. The continental crust is of an average thickness of about 50 km. For example, under the mountains like Himalayas, the thickness may go up to 75 km. And very important fact to know about is most of the continental crust is made up of hard granite. Next, the oceanic crust. It is also made up of hard black igneous rock called basalt. So I'll recollect again. That is, continental crust is usually made up of granite, hard granite, and at the same time the oceanic crust is made up of hard black igneous rock. Usually it is called as basalt. How it is formed means it is formed by the volcanic eruption when the lava oozes out. When we check out the minerals present in the crust, the continental crust is made up of silica, aluminium and magnesium. That is, the main composition of the crust are silica, aluminium and magnesium. The upper continental layer, that is the continental crust, is rich in silicates and aluminium, which is shortly known as sial. The lower layer, that is oceanic crust, has silicates and magnesium in abundance. Therefore, they are called by the word sima. Apart from that, a very important content to be known as we go deep into the earth, the density, the weight of the rock increases as we go deeper into the earth. So another point to be remembered is, as we go deep into the earth, the temperature also increases at the rate of 1 degree Celsius for every 32 meter. So every 32 meter you go deep into the earth, you will have increase of 1 degree Celsius. So when we check the density of the crust, that is density of the matter present in the crust, they are very much less than 3 gram per cubic meter. Approximately they measure 2.7 gram per centimeter cube. If we have a small check with the sial and sima in the continents, the sial layer is thicker under continents such as Asia, Africa and Central America, whereas it is virtually absent under the oceans like Pacific Ocean. The crust is being constantly created and destroyed. Again, this diagram tells you about the continental crust and ocean crust. The diagram also denotes that the continental crust is lower density and oceanic crust is higher density. Here the lithosphere, crust and upper mantle is also being shown. Along with it, you can also see in the diagram with the silicate mineral and the depth of the crust. As we have divided the layers of the earth into crust, mantle and core, it is essential to know that they differ in density, minerals present, as well as the state of matter of the rocks. So here we need to know that what is a transition zone. That is, from one layer to another, they do not change abruptly. There is a gradual change in the density and the matter of the rock. So that particular transition zone is named after the inventors. First one is Conrad discontinuity. That is the layer between the upper crust and the lower crust. That is continental crust and oceanic crust is said to be as Conrad discontinuity. Similarly, Mohorovičić discontinuity or Moho discontinuity. It is the layer between the crust as well as mantle. That is the lower crust and the upper mantle. This transition zone has the characteristics of the layers above as well as below. So let us discuss the transition zone as we move on. So here the picture indicates the repeated discontinuity between upper mantle and lower mantle. Gutenberg discontinuity between lower mantle and outer core. Lehmann discontinuity between inner and outer core. So these are the transition zone, that is the zone where the characteristics of the minerals or the rocks present there changes. Let us move on to the next layer, mantle. The mantle is also divided into upper mantle and lower mantle. The upper mantle is otherwise known as asthenosphere. So it is to the depth of 410 kilometer. The lower mantle is otherwise known as mesosphere, which is to the depth of about 2900 kilometer. So it is the layer between crust and core. So it is popularly told that it is sandwiched between the crust and the core. If we discuss some characteristics, they are about 84% of Earth's volume. So this is the thickest layer of the Earth's structure. Okay. Then the rocks which is present here are rich in magnesium and iron silicates. Other important minerals found in the mantle are aluminium, calcium, sodium and potassium. The upper portion of the mantle consists of these minerals, whereas the lower portion of the mantle, that is, as I said, the mesosphere has only nickel and iron. Okay, and the state of matter of mantle is molten in nature. The rocks are molten in nature. Here again, this diagram denotes the asthenosphere. The asthenosphere is the upper mantle just below the lower layer of the crust. Okay, so asthenosphere is upper mantle and lower mantle is known as mesosphere. So as we have discussed, the minerals present in the mantle are oxygen, iron, magnesium, potassium, sodium, aluminium, etc. Okay. The magma is in molten state. So the magma comes out through the surface of the earth when there is crack in the earth's surface as a volcano. The upper portion of the mantle is partially molten in state. We know that the crust is solid. So the layer below the crust is upper mantle. So they are actually in the molten state. Molten, it means like viscous plastic like material. So the asthenosphere's quality is like a plastic like viscous. Viscous is a sticky material. So as we go into the lower mantle, they are molten stage. That is, the rock will be in the form of magma. So again, the temperature of this layer is about 900 degrees Celsius to 2200 degrees Celsius. We have already discussed that as we go deeper into the earth, the density of the rock increases as well as temperature increases. Therefore, the density of the rock is 3.5 gram to 5 gram or 5.5 gram centimeter cube. Whereas in the crust we have discussed it is only below 3 gram per centimeter cube. Clearer? The next layer we could see is core or barosphere. So the transition zone already we have seen in the diagram. The transition zone is the boundary between two layers. So the boundary between the mantle and the core is called as Gutenberg discontinuity. It is named after a scientist, Benno Gutenberg. It is found at the depth of 2900 kilometer. Let us discuss in detail about the core. So the core is also again divided into two layers, inner core and outer core. The minerals present in the core is Nifi, that is nickel and iron. Nickel shortly denoted as Ni and iron denoted as Fe, together known to be as Nifi. So the thickness of this layer is about 2300 kilometer from the mantle. The temperature of the outer core is 4000 degrees Celsius to 5000 degrees Celsius. The density of the core is 5 gram per cubic meter to 13 gram per cubic meter. So it is very clear that as we go deeper into the earth, the density also increases as well as the temperature also increases. Again, we must understand that the outer core and the inner core, they differ from in their characteristics. The outer core is in molten state because the layer above, that is the mantle, is in the molten state, whereas the inner core becomes firm and solid. You may have a doubt, at the high temperature how could a rock be in a solid form? Being the core, the middle part of the earth, they experiences high temperature as well as high pressure all around. So due to the high pressure, the state of matter of rock becomes solid and very firm in nature. And it has the heaviest metal of the earth's surface, that is iron and nickel. Due to the presence of the heavy metals in this layer, they are responsible for the Earth's magnetic field. The core is otherwise known as barysphere. So let us have a small recap of the layers which we have discussed. This diagram clearly denotes you the whole of the content we have discussed. The upper layer of or the outermost layer of the earth structure is crust. Crust can be divided into oceanic crust as well as continental crust. The layer between continental crust and oceanic crust is Conrad discontinuity, and the crust is otherwise known as lithosphere. The layer below the lithosphere is asthenosphere, that is upper mantle, and the lower mantle is also known as mesosphere. The layer, the transition zone between the crust and the mantle is called as Mohot discontinuity. The minerals present in the mantle is Sima, that is silicon or silicates and magnesium. Clearer? So the next one is the barysphere, that is core. The layer between the core and the mantle is called Gutenberg discontinuity, and the core is also divided into outer core and inner core. The layer between outer core and inner core is Lehman discontinuity. Together, the crust is known as barysphere, the mantle is known as mesosphere, the core is known as barysphere. So, in total, this lesson, in this module, we have discussed about the layers of the atmosphere, that is crust, mantle and core, and their subdivisions, along with the density of the rock present in it, minerals present in each layer, the state of matter, that is solid, liquid or molten or firm solid, we have discussed for each layer. Apart from that, the thickness, the depth of the each layer we have discussed. Based upon the discussions and the presentation, I would like you to do this tabular column on the specification. Do this tabular column in a special notebook, that is a separate notebook. It has some specifications I have given. For each layer, write the other name, that is for crust, mantle and core, depth in kilometer. How many kilometer depth each layer is present. Maybe you can have subdivisions for crust, mantle, core as well as. And density in gram per centimeter cube of each layer. the composition of each layer, the temperature that is existing in each layer, finally the state of matter of each layers of the earth. Complete this tablet column in a notebook. Herewith, also I'll give you a worksheet based upon the content which has been discussed in the presentation. Prepare those also in the notebook, and we will continue with the lesson in the next module. Thank you.